be a little bit different in tone, especially because I'm not very loud. It's just me this week. Sean wasn't feeling too well, and Mike's got his hands full with 3 kids now, so it's just me bringing the news this week, which there's been a handful of crazy things that are going on, so let's jump into, what number is this? Episode 71? Rebel Pack Podcast, episode 71, and it is still me, Adam. I don't know where to start. There's been some sad news, especially with the games that we've been playing. Let's start with some of the Destiny news, how the numbers just seem to keep going down and down, and we have a better look at how the actual population of the game is doing now. Thanks to Bungie's API, there is a new tool that somebody built that actually shows a more or less accurate count to the game, and it looks like the numbers have fallen below the Curse of Osiris low, which, if anyone has been following Destiny 2, we know that Curse of Osiris was actually the rough point of the game, where they were, I think it was about 5 weeks away from closing down the game as a product, is what they were quoted as saying. I think Curse of Osiris's low was around, this comes from, the tool is called popularity.report, and it's specifically for Destiny 2. And looking at it, it looks like the lowest for Curse of Osiris was about, we'll say 417,000 folks playing. And then over time, that number shot back up to, it peaked out the highest, which was just around Forsaken at like 2.7 million. It's been on a steady up and down as like the different seasons and in between seasons were debuted. But as time has gone on, it looks like the final shape at its peak was about 1.2, which is a huge drop-off to where we are now with the Edge of Fate. And as of today, I'm recording this on the 14th, it looks like their player count... Oh, Jesus. Is that really? Yeah. 199,000. So we'll say just about sub 200,000 people online playing the game currently. Not looking good. There's been a lot of people talking about the death of D2 and how they're trying to turn it around and things. Destiny themselves just mentioned how they're going to roll back some changes that they had with their unstable core system, which was their new way of upgrading things. They went from enhancement cores to unstable cores to infuse armor to make it better, which was a new thing for Edge of Fate to make things supposedly different and easier, but it's just complicated things. A lot of that is part of the reason why I haven't really joined back in on the game. I haven't had any interest since I actually beat the campaign that was going on, which is unfortunate and sad. And I've looked forward to some of the holiday stuff, like, what is it? God, I can't remember the name. Festival of the Lost. That's supposed to be their Halloween themed thing, and they're changing it to be more of an onslaught, like firefight kind of game type, but I just can't find any interest in doing that. I'm hoping that some of this will actually start bringing folks back to the game, but it's just not looking good. And all we can tell is that it's like, there have been some folks asking about why, or what's Sony doing about this, but they're trying to keep the game afloat and trying to keep people on, but it's not looking good. And other people are speculating that Marathon is their full focus right now for Bungie, and maybe it is. They've got their next set of NDA'd beta tests going out. If you haven't signed up for that, you might be a little late to the game right now on that, but for those of us who did sign up, hopefully we get some news soon. I'm hoping to get into it and try, but we'll see. Who knows? From what I hear, it's getting better and better, but it's already coming into kind of a flooded market when it comes to extraction shooters. But they've got their own thing that they're trying to add, so hopefully there's something new there, something interesting. I am not one who has tried a lot of extraction shooters. I like first-person shooters and things like that, and I like trying out new games, but extraction shooters are a new thing for me. There have been some more Xbox rumors talking about more retailers supposedly. And I say supposedly because that's a huge rumor from alleged staff at Walmart and Target that they were discontinuing selling Xbox games and consoles, which unfortunately for Xbox, it's just another one of those rumors that they've had to come out and brush off and say, nope, not true, not happening. We're still committed to our retail partners, still doing this stuff, which I'm glad that they did, because you let that stuff fester for too long and it eventually becomes its own rumor with its own legs, and then you can't control it. But they had to come out and say, no, that's not happening. It's not true. Those kind of rumors are false. And I'm glad that there was a lot of folks clowning on some of that news too. Like, I can't even remember any of them at the moment, but they were just saying how, like, I work in a restaurant. We stopped selling Xbox games. And it's confirmed because I work there and shit like that. But it's interesting. It's sad, though, considering there are some retailers, it's like we talked about before, how Costco is not carrying Xbox consoles and games, and that was a straight up business decision from them to do so, which is not great. Well, I mean, with all the Xbox news that we covered from the last episode, it's been really confusing as to what Xbox is doing and the reasons why. But here's hoping like they're still going to be around for a while. Oh, that was another thing. There was another rumor where not long after we learned that they were not going to be selling things at Costco, that there was another rumor about them possibly not even making a new console for the next generation, which they had to say, yes, we're committed to making that new one. They had a partnership with AMD to make the chipset for the new console, so it's still coming out. Not sure when. But on the same console, next-gen console talk, the PlayStation 6 has been coming up here and there as well. And there was some rumor or speculation that we might hear or see something come next year, springtime around it. I wish I could find the exact article when I had it. I should have saved it, but people are looking forward to that too. We're getting into that era where we're going to start hearing and seeing things and prototypes and stuff, but who knows what it's going to be until it actually comes out. Talking about sixes as well. Battlefield 6 is actually having a great launch. There was some issues with the EA app and people who pre-ordered the game on that, how it wasn't honored or it was canceled or something. I'll have to see if I can't find the article for that, but EA has come out and is working on the fix for those people who tried to get into the game. One quick negative that I keep hearing about, which I agree with, is that for their anti-cheat, which for some multiplayer games, I think that's important to have, especially when you've got people whose sole goal is to just fuck with other people and not let them enjoy what they bought, or just they want to wreak havoc because they think it's fun. You need an anti-cheat for a lot of multiplayer games. That's fair. But when your anti-cheat needs kernel-level access, which is, for those of us who are not fully technologically inclined, that is the highest level of access for administrative purposes to your machine. When an anti-cheat needs something like that, it starts raising some questions. You don't want things messing with your computer at the furthest inward level that they can get, because if something goes on with that, it could mess up your entire system, and then there's not much you can do unless you know how to edit the kernel, which is not something that's very simple. But anyway, for Battlefield 6, apparently their all-time peak in a 4-day, this is coming from steamdb.info, which is all things Steam-related games and charts. Their all-time peak in the last 4 days was 747,000 people playing, which is great, not including console numbers. A lot of folks have been praising that the game is getting back to its roots, where it's more visual, or not visual, it's more performance and gameplay over spectacle and visual. And a lot of people have been saying that it feels like a proper Battlefield game, which is great. There was some controversy about you can't change your gender based on your class. Like, depending on what class you picked, your gender locked to it, which, if you just care about the game, you don't really care about that kind of shit. You just want to get into the game. But someone's always got something to fight about somewhere, for some reason. Oh, this is cool. In the last 24 hours, there have been 656,000 people playing Battlefield 6. That's not bad. As of today, they have the number 2 spot in daily active users. They're number 1 in top sellers and number 1 in wishlist activity. So I say Battlefield 6 is back. Or Battlefield is back, I guess. Not like it ever left. Well, apparently Borderlands 6 also faced extensive queues this weekend as servers immediately reached capacity. I guess that shows just how excited people were to play the game. I'd heard a little bit about that and how people had to wait, or like the servers just weren't able to support the capacity, and maybe even some of the devs said that they were completely ready for the game in like the servers weren't going to crash, but I guess that wasn't entirely true. But even then, people still were able to get into the game and enjoy it, which is always cool. Always fun. Randy Pitchford sticking his foot in his mouth again, but in a good way this time, I think. Since the game launched, hang on, I want to start with something funny. When the game launched first, he had mentioned that for those who wanted to buy the game for $80 or whatever it was that he was touting for it, that you might want to buy it now because he doesn't see the game going on sale for a while. And what is this, a month in? The game's already going on sale. So pick it up while you can, while it's on sale for a little while. But he's quoted as saying, if more developers understood why gamers love making decisions about loot, we'd have better competition. And I find myself agreeing with that. And the best comparison I have is actually going back to the first topic, Destiny 2. When it came to Destiny's gameplay, the sandbox is kind of what made the game besides the story and gameplay and how the guns felt when you were firing. All the perks that come on the different games, or on the different guns, not to mention the guns themselves, what manufacturer, who's making what, where does it come from, whatever. They all have different feels. And the perks actually change the way those guns feel and what they're effective against in the game. And that's a lot like how Borderlands guns go, where you've got like the different manufacturers, which is like Molly 1 and TDR and stuff like that, but they have specific classes isn't the right word, but it's more like Jacobs is another one where it's like old West style guns. They have that wood finish to them, like wood and brass, usually iron sights or something. Revolver style, pull the trigger as fast as you can. TDR is like explosive, so like the perks on the gun, you might shoot it and it'll have like explosions or rockets attached to it. Molly 1 is usually elemental stuff, so when you're firing, it's like corrosive or fire or electric. There was a budget gun too, where instead of reloading, you would just throw it and it explodes and you generate a new one. Silly things like that. But it's those mixed with the different types of perks that you can get on the guns, the different rarity levels, the different loot. What is the word? The different places you can get the loot and the drop rates, which give you something to work towards. Now, I have been seeing a lot of talk about the loot not being as pervasive, or, well, pervasive's not right. It's more the time that you sink into trying to get something specific is usually not worth the reward. And a lot of the comparison is being pushed back to Borderlands 2, where that was the sweet spot for different loot places and the ability to get them, where it was either farming different bosses, having an enemy that you'd have to go after, reload, kill him again, come back, reload, do it again until you get something. Perfect example was, I believe, the shield was called the Honeybee. It was a very specific enemy. That was like, for the quest, it was a radio, like a radio announcer, and he would spawn into that area, and you would just go run straight to him, kill him, run back out, come back, do it again, just to get that shield. And the drop rate was small, but it was easy to work towards, besides having to do like certain bosses over and over just to farm them to get really good shotguns or something like that. But the time that you invested, it was usually worth it because it didn't take you days on end to do so. Whereas in this game, it seems like the drop rates are completely abysmal and it takes forever. And it's usually not worth the time that you invest in doing it anyway. And this is coming from other people that have played the game. I have not touched it yet. I plan to at some point in the future, but we'll see. But from what I'm reading and understanding, people don't think that the investment is worth the time. But the game itself is fun and worth trying out, which is cool. It's always a good thing to hear for the Borderlands game itself. I forgot to mention that they actually have some Borderlands 4 roadmap news. Looks like one of the free content packs between October 23rd and November 6th is going to be Borderlands 4 Horrors of Kairos. It looks like it's going to be one of those free content packs. And then a new Bounty Hunter pack coming out November 20th called... what? How Rush Saved Mercenary Day. I assume Rush is one of the new bounty hunters, vault hunters. Jesus. That one comes with a handful of cosmetics and pieces of rerollable gear. One Vault Hunter style Echo 4 drone skin vehicle, new missions and bosses, new legendary gear. That's cool. And at the same time, or right after that, they're going to have a new invincible boss called the Bloom Reaper. Interesting. And then they showed off in Q1 of 2026 a new bounty pack, which includes new bosses, missions, weapons, skins, all that fun stuff. And something called the Vault of the Damned. Ooh, a new story pack. That's coming out in Q1. Mad Ellie and the Vault of the Damned. And that's when the new Vault Hunter cache is coming out with a new map zone. Nice. New side missions, gear, cosmetics, the new Vault Hunter himself. Cool. We got our first look at the roadmap for Borderlands 4. At least they're going to keep that going for a little while. Oh, over the weekend there's been a lot of Pokemon leaks. Some people say it's from the teraleak that happened months ago. It could also be from Nintendo being breached recently. Like over the weekend, there was a hacker group that was saying that they had breached Nintendo and were posting some images of like folder trees. But there's no like, Nintendo hasn't come out and said, yes, we've been breached. We're doing something about it. No news about that yet. But from the teraleak itself, there have been a lot of, if it's from that, there's been a lot of talk about their 2030 roadmap and what's going on with the Pokemon franchise overall. Some of the games that they mentioned that was possibly coming out was like Wind and Wave, and that one may be procedurally generated to keep the game going endlessly, which is an interesting thought, especially for Pokemon, because usually they follow a specific structure to those games. Usually it's like, eight giant boss leaders, gym leaders, whatever you want to call it, with a set Pokédex in different regions that you go to and check out. But some of the leaks that came out from the teraleak breach, besides Wind and Wave, let's see, some of the, I wish I even knew what these were. I don't know what seed is. Let's see, this is coming from itemlevel.net from Christian Gallows. They say, according to the leaked documents, Game Freak's next 5 years could look like, and they list off 2026 could be Pokemon Gaia, which is Generation 10 Wind/Waves, and that would be the next mainline generation, targeting next year, which is cool, and DLC expansions that are planned through 2027. Pokemon Legends Ringo, which could be the Galar region, which was like Pokemon Legends Arceus, but this was set years before, like years before, like beginning of Pokemon stuff, I believe. Blast off in Super Mario. And even goes on to say, concept art reportedly shows stone-made Pokeballs, trainers, and Pokemon surrounding a campfire and cauldron in untouched landscapes, possibly linked to the quote-unquote past Paradox Pokemon introduced in Scarlet and Violet. The tone evokes a raw, survival-driven adventure exploring the origins of Pokemon-human coexistence. Sounds interesting. And then 2029 is something called Project Seed, and they go on to say, perhaps the most talked about revelation, Project Seed is described as a, quote, new kind of Pokemon RPG connecting all 4 Japan-inspired regions, which was Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, and Sinnoh, into a single adventure. That sounds really interesting. Especially since a lot of us who are old hat when it comes to video games and stuff got their start on Red and Blue, which was, I think, the Johto series? Or maybe that was Kanto. I can't remember. It's been so damn long. But if they actually connect all 4 of those and make it one long game, which that gives me nostalgia for Gold and Silver, where after you beat the Gold and Silver regions, you go back to it was Kanto. You go back to the original ones and you can beat those 8 gym leaders as well again, and get to face yourself back from before. I thought that was really cool. So if they're able to do something like that and bring all 4 of the regions together, that'd be really neat. A word word of caution about the leaks too, which I'm glad that they put this here, and this is always something to keep in mind when it comes to leaks and rumors, is while the leak's authenticity has not been confirmed by Nintendo or the Pokemon Company, many details align with past verified leaks. Sources claim the files originate from the same breach as last year's internal data, which had been withheld until after Legend ZA launched. Which is exactly what happened. ZA launched, what was it, last week? The week before? And then some more of this information came out. So who knows? We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if any of this comes to pass in the next couple of years. And if so, then all it does is just lend credibility to the leaks. For those of us who like game shows or game fest, game news shows, game awards, the game awards. They confirmed that Summer Games Fest's annual live show is going to come back next June, specifically June 5th. And there have been some organizers that have already been confirmed. I haven't looked at the entire list yet, but it was good to have confirmation that we're going to have more next year. Something more to look forward to, especially in the next couple months. We've got the Game Awards to look forward to proper. Can't wait to see who are on the nominations for this year and what categories they have. Wonder if they've changed anything or if they're sticking to what they originally had. Well, there was a new fighting game that was shown off. For those of us who grew up watching the original Avatar series on Nickelodeon, they have a new fighting game, which I'm very surprised to see. I don't know why, but I never thought that they would actually make a fighting game regarding Avatar. But it also fits, especially with the characters and their martial arts feeding into elemental bending and stuff. So that's neat. It's called Avatar Legends, the fighting game, and it's coming next summer. I've only seen a handful of characters that they showed off, and I am not going to work on trying to name the names because I know I will get them wrong. But they showed the main 2-3 characters from the original, the new Avatar from the most recent show, I think it was, and some of the Fire Nation folks. I wish I remembered all their names or knew how to say them, but take a look at the trailer. It looks neat. Looks cool. Looks solid. And that reminds me of a game that just fell into my radar that I've actually been kind of stuck on, that I plan to play a lot more and stream and maybe even put a video up on. It's called Absolem. It is a side-scrolling beat-em-up game, but it's also combined with a roguelite. It was published and partially helped develop by Dotemu, which I believe was Streets of Rage 4 and maybe even TMNT Shredder's Revenge. And it was developed by... Oh, I've got it up here. Who did it? Where are you again? It was Guard Crush and somebody else. But I mean, if anyone likes 2D side-scrollers like we've talked about a lot in the past, it's worth checking out. Like, even the trailer is what grabbed me because, like, as I'm playing the game itself, the combos feel punchy and feel like they have weight. And I keep drawing comparisons to, like, Battletoads. When Rare put out their side-scrolling Battletoads game, and I liked the art style, it looked really cartoony, but there was no real weight behind the combat. It felt very soft and spongy, and nothing felt like it connected. Whereas this game, it takes that RPG and side-scrolling element, your hits connect, there are actual combos, you can dodge and do things, and like with the roguelite abilities, it's a light touch, which can be good or bad depending on what you're looking for, or what type of roguelite games you're looking for. But it feels like it doesn't hamper the gameplay either. There's no real wrong answer to what you choose when you get the options to add stuff to your attacks, abilities, things like that. It still follows the whole premise of once you die, you get reborn, revived, whatever, and start over and do the run again. And you're trying to get through the area to the big bad Sun King Azra. And that, I believe that should be the end of the run. I've only played an hour of it, and I've gotten maybe halfway through a map. So, it's not bad. It's a lot of fun, and I think the gameplay is what's going to keep me coming back to it too, because it just feels good. It's one of those games that feels really good to play, and I'm enjoying it a lot. So, if you follow the podcast on Twitch or on YouTube or anything, maybe expect to see some more videos there. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to keep up with it and see how it goes. Oh, yeah. Some sad news about Remedy's game FBC Firebreak. was an interesting game. I'm glad that they continued something different and set it in the Remedyverse, whatever you want to call it. How Control and Alan Wake are connected. I guess all their games are really connected via something. But yeah, they put out their big update to try and turn things around at the beginning of September, midway through September, something like that. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like their numbers have gotten back up by much at all. I think last I saw maybe it was sub hundreds of players, if that. But they issued a quote unquote profit warning. And it says, despite improved player and sales metrics after the update, sales have not reached Remedy's internal targets. Which, I mean, if you're expecting to make, what was it, 16 million back on a game that was maybe $40, and hinged on like players playing it constantly or something, I don't see how one update would have actually turned things around. But it's also unfortunate because they took a swing on something new. They tried something out. It was a lot of fun. They just didn't find the audience for it, which sucks, but I guess that's business. I wish they did, though. I thought it was fun. Definitely had some kinks to work out, though. But it was worth trying. For those 5 of us, and that's a joke, there's a hell of a lot more that are still doing Dragon Ball Z competitions, the fighting game competitions. There's a new character that got announced. They're doing some overhauls and updates for the game systems themselves, and they showed off Super Saiyan 4 Goku. He's going to be joining the fight, which is cool. I kind of like that character from the original anime. Never finished watching the Omega Shenron and stuff like that. But the fact that that character's coming to Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Fighter Z, Fighter Z, I forget what they said it specifically was, but I like calling it Fighter Z. I might have to jump back in that and play it again. It was a really solid fighting game. I thought it was more or less akin to actually playing the anime as a fighting game, which was cool. It was solid. Need to try it some more. I've fallen out of fighting games ever since I stopped playing Guilty Gear. Oh, that's what that was. Okay. So Nintendo recently had a little video come out that was called Closer to You, and it looked a lot like a Pixar animated short of like a mom and their baby in the baby's room. Someone knocks at the door, the mom goes to check on it, and the baby is following some invisible things playing with its pacifier and toys in its room. And a lot of people who viewed it first caught on that the music had either a part that was directly from Pikmin or it sounded like Pikmin music. And I think it was a day later that they showed off the updated version of the video, which revealed that it was actually Pikmin in the room, which was really cool. And apparently, their comment on those sets of videos were that it's their first short films from Nintendo Pictures. So it looks like Nintendo themselves are getting into some animated shorts, whether it's short films, cartoons, maybe it's, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes long, maybe it's half an hour, who knows. But that's interesting. I'm going to keep following that. I guess that gives them some confidence in doing so, considering how well Illumination has been doing with the Mario movies and their Legend of Zelda movie that's coming out soon. It's interesting. A lot of their games, like game form, could lend pretty well to, I think, animation. They just have to stay away from the realism, I think. If they stick with the actual video game feel of it and kept, like, the actual feeling you get when you see the video game trailers or when you're playing the game, I think that it'll go a lot farther than, like, trying to ground it in reality or saying, this is how it would actually happen. That's just my opinion, though. I can't wait to see what they do with it. Oh shit, that's right. Alan Wake 2 is also available on PlayStation Plus. I had planned to stream that too for folks who haven't seen it or wanted to play it or check it out. I love Alan Wake, and the fact that it's on PlayStation Plus just gives me another reason to play it again. I did all I could on the Xbox, so why not re-download it on PlayStation and do it all over again? Hopefully Sean gives it a try or stays away from that so that way he doesn't see the... I'm not going to spoil it. Sees the special thing that me and Mike talked about. It comes out of left field, but it's so great. We're just a couple weeks away from Power Wash Simulator 2, October 23rd. think we've talked about this before when they actually showed the reveal date, but it just seems so far away still. I can't wait to get my hands on it and see if it still plays like original or if they've made some changes that makes it feel better. I just hope it doesn't stray too far from the original. It was a lot of fun to kick back and relax and just clean stuff. It's a nice way to unwind. Definitely worth it if you got nothing else to do and need to pass the time and feel like you're accomplishing something. It's a good game to play. I guess there's a new Assassin's Creed Shadows rumor going around too that it's coming to the Switch around Christmas time. I think the rumored date is around December 5th. If they're able to get that thing running on the Switch too, then that means that they... Well, I guess I don't really know what that means, but it's interesting that they can get a game that looks and runs like that on modern consoles to run on the Switch too pretty well. Might just show what the Switch is actually capable of and what they can put out on it. If so, that's interesting. Oh, a long-time Halo vet is leaving, actually. Leaving the Halo... Well, now Halo Studios, used to be 343. I gotta find their quote, but they gave a kind of a dire warning to the gaming industry or the Halo fans as a whole. I gotta see if I can find it, because that was actually kind of interesting to see. And it really makes you wonder, because he said that he can't talk about it right now. The quote is, "There is a little more I can say for the moment, though I intend to share this particular story in its entirety when it is absolutely safe to do so next year." He also urged developers to quote-unquote stay strong and take evidence when necessary, sparking speculation about what really went down behind the scenes. I don't know what that means for the future of Halo, but that's interesting and a little worrying. I feel like Halo Infinite's kind of hitting its stride with multiplayer and what they're doing with the game for now. But as for what the future looks like with it, I really have no idea. There's been a lot of rumors that Halo is actually going to end up coming to Sony systems and things in the coming months or year. Maybe. I mean, that'd be interesting. Bring in a whole new flood of players. Definitely give it a little kickstart, revive the series a little bit, but as for like the future games, things like that, I don't know. I really don't know. Hopefully it's something positive. I think that'll do it for me. I can only make this thing go on for so long talking to myself. Or my little gnome here called Bartleby, Beelzebub. I forget what my daughter called him. But he's been my companion while the guys have been out and about doing their own thing and I'm recording. So, hopefully this week we'll be at full strength and talking normally. But in the meantime, if you want to follow the podcast and us on socials, we are on Instagram and Threads, Facebook. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Go follow the Patreon. All that fun stuff. We'll give you some more. Oh, Blue Sky. I always forget about Blue Sky. Make sure you follow us on there too. I like talking to people. Hit us up on something. And with that, I think I'm done. All right, bye.